Exactly 2 decades since the launch of the first generation Scorpio, sales of over 800,000 units, and having created a cult Indian SUV brand, Mahindra and Mahindra has just launched the new generation Scorpio N in this stunning new avatar. Launched at a starting price of Rs 11.99 lakh for the Z2 petrol manual transmission variant, the top spec Z8L diesel manual transmission is priced at Rs 19.49 lakh. Notably, these are introductory prices and are valid for the first 25,000 customers only. The company has meanwhile also shared that the prices for the automatic and the 4x4 variants will be announced at a later date. Deliveries, nonetheless, will begin simultaneously in September 2022. When Mahindra and Mahindra launched the Scorpio in June 2002, it created a category of its own in the Indian vehicle market, growing by 26% CAGR for the first 5 years. In these past 20 years, the SUV has undergone 5 iterations, with a new generation product launched in 2014. This new third generation Scorpio, christened Scorpio N, has taken an absolutely new avatar, with Mahindra ensuring not a single component gets carried over from the previous generation Scorpio. From the very first time you set your sight on the new Mahindra Scorpio N, it is clear this is an absolutely new look, new generation variant of the popular Mahindra SUV. Step inside and you're bound to be surprised by how the interiors look and feel. Mahindra clearly wanted to give the Scorpio an edge to the power of N in design, performance, technology, and others.
I think what we've created over here is an authentic SUV which comes from the DNA of an iconic brand or an idea which was a disruption 20 years ago. And Scorpio as a brand has been really iconic in terms of what it's done in the last 20 years. But clearly, when we come to Scorpio N, while it takes its DNA from the brand Scorpio, it's an all new product. There is no carryover from the Scorpio. As you're aware, both the Scorpio Classic and the Scorpio N will coexist in the market. Our expectation is that the two brands will coexist, and as a portfolio, we would have created a very, very significant brand with the Scorpio N being a part of the Scorpio family. Clearly, it's a product which is leagues ahead. If you compare it to its competitors in the category today, we believe it's a product that will be aspirational for the C segment SUVs and for what the product has to offer, very compelling for anyone who would want to buy a D segment SUV. So that's the sweet spot where we believe it will come in. It will explode the category there, and we'll be able to pull customers from both sides.
Pratap Bose, Executive Vice President and Chief Design Officer, Mahindra Group, said the 20-year-old brand needed a revolution more than an evolution.
Scorpio brand has existed since 2002, to the month really, 20 years, 2 decades. And I think it was time for a revolution that was needed because the world has changed around us. The customer herself has changed. And this was an absolutely perfect time, therefore, to make a revolution.
Sure.
And, the Scorpio N is timed and designed and engineered for that.
Customers' aspirations, requirements, and demands have evolved over the years, and they want a level of sophistication even on a body-on-frame vehicle such as the Scorpio N. Be it the Thar or its latest Scorpio N, Mahindra has focused on delivering robustness and a go-anywhere capability, yet ensuring there is sophistication of a vehicle that is contemporary.
So that's, I think, the biggest change, the expectation of sophistication. So if you see, therefore, the care that we've taken in designing the interior, the materials, the finishes, the craftsmanship, the quality, all the shut lines, the shut gaps, way things come together, gloss levels, paint selection, that's taken really to another level because the customer doesn't accept anything less anymore.
While the Scorpio N was conceived and created with these facets in mind, the one big challenge that designers and engineers had was to ensure that they did not dilute the original Scorpio DNA, yet were able to do something completely new.
It, if someone's upgrading or changing from the current Scorpio to this, that's also fine. It appeals to them. They get it. If someone's not a Scorpio customer at all, the Scorpio N is for them. Sure. And you saw, therefore, the benchmarking we did was from the similar D segment, C segment, because I think we can get customers from both segments, but also monocoque products. So if you saw in the presentation today, the comparison was not with like for like, direct like for like products only. It was also with products in other segments. And I think that's fundamentally important because we truly believe that the Scorpio N can bring in customers from these other segments of the market, of the SUV market.
It must be noted that Mahindra approached design of the Scorpio N in a collaborative manner with Mahindra Group-owned Italian design house Pininfarina and Mahindra's own UK design studio. These global studios bring in fresh perspectives, said Bose.
Right? When you want to break the box, you can choose, someone who's not in that box at all. Correct. Right? So the designer sitting in Turin, they will have a very, very different view of this sort of product, and I think those collaborations work really well. Our India team, understands India, the Indian customer inside out. They do great products, but I think to be challenged, to be given a new perspective, is always helpful. And that's where we employ, or deploy studios like Pininfarina, which is part of, the larger Mahindra family, of course, to bring in that fresh sense of perspective. And I really like that. I mean, if you look at that little sting in the tail of the Scorpio on the rear quarter glass, that's from one of the original Pininfarina sketches. Right. I really like it because if you're sitting in the traffic, most of the times you can only see the cabin of a car. You can't see the whole car because traffic is quite tight. You will immediately know that that's a Scorpio N next to me, or if you're in one, then. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in what is an interesting decision, Mahindra has decided to retain the old nameplate alongside the new Scorpio N. The Scorpio Classic, as the previous variant will now be called, is expected to continue delivering in some of Mahindra's very strong market pockets. Nakra explained.
So, see, the Scorpio Classic, in our view, there are some very strong pockets where the product is preferred because of its small footprint. It's a compact, while it's obviously more than 4 meters, but even then, from a body-on-frame SUV, from a full-blown SUV, it's a compact footprint. It's got its high command seating. It's got side-facing seats at the rear, which many applications and many customers, especially in rural India, prefer to buy a product like that for easy entry, exit from the back, for multiple applications. So we believe that there is a separate clientele, a separate customer who will buy that product, and we would continue to sell the product for them. Whereas this is for the what we call the global Indian, who's looking for not just a body-on-frame authentic SUV, but while doing that, they want sophistication, they want the best ride and handling, they want all the tech features, they want safety at its max, and premium quality interiors. So when you put all of that together, that's what we put together in the Scorpio N. And hence I say that while the DNA comes from a brand called Scorpio, it's a transformation to the power of N that you can't quantify in terms of change. And hence we believe it will be for what we call the modern global Indian.
While we've got a sense of the design thought that has gone into the new Scorpio N, giving it clearly a very different and distinct identity compared to its previous generation, the new generation product is also loaded with technology and engineering brilliance from Mahindra engineers. The Scorpio N has been developed fresh grounds up, and the team of engineers led by R. Velusamy, President Automotive Technology and Product Development at Mahindra and Mahindra, ensured that they went into the very minute details of vehicle architecture and construction. Compared to the Scorpio Classic, the Scorpio N is significantly larger but sits lower. By sheer numbers, the Scorpio N is 206mm longer, 97mm wider, but what aids overall stability and handling of the new SUV is its significantly lower height of 1870 millimeters against the older model's 1995 millimeters. The Scorpio N also has a 70 mm longer wheelbase.
It's an all-round improvement, and it sets the benchmark in all areas.
Right.
You start with the performance, so you hit in 10 seconds. 10 every second 10 kilometers. So in 10 seconds you hit 100 kilometers.
100 kilometers.
So it's 200 bhp, 175 bhp, 200 bhp gasoline engine to 175 bhp diesel engine with a 1900 kilos thereabout curb weight. You are really top notch in the performance. So when it comes to performance, when it comes to fuel economy of the diesels, it is outstanding fuel economy. Even the gasoline is outstanding fuel economy. Then you have the ride and handling. That's the most important thing in a body and frame, because when you have such a high level of performance, you need to have the ride and handling. There are three things.
Correct.
So the comfort is nothing but when you go on a highway, you keep getting this vertical impulse. Yeah, that's one kind of we call it as vertical input or vertical acceleration.
Okay.
You always get, when you have undulations on the road, you always get a little roll. You know, you cannot have roll and have a fatigue-free drive at all.
Okay.
So the constant vertical vibration and constant roll, very, the frequency that I mentioned about 4 to 6 10 hertz in that range, we have completely eliminated with that FDD technology. So that's the main. So the FDD technology takes care of the milder movements, and the bigger movements are taken care of the basic suspension technology.
Right.
So you are preparing this car for a very high speed stability, the ride, the roll, and the steering performance.
Sure.
So with the 12 pinion 110 ampere electric motor, the steering performance is absolutely outstanding.
Okay.
The motor is directly mounted.
Right.
So it gives a fantastic steering.
Right.
The NVH levels is outstanding NVH levels inside. It's completely quiet. So 39 dB is for gasoline and 42 dB is for diesel. It's an unbelievably benchmark set in this segment.
Mahindra claims to have offered 6% better visibility on the Scorpio N as compared to D-segment SUVs in the market. Despite its body-on-frame construction, the new Scorpio N has a lower center of gravity of 706 mm, which Value claims is even lower than the current crop of D-segment SUVs in the market. It results in a roll arm height of 463 mm, which is 8.3% lower than the current benchmark of 505 mm in D-segment SUVs. The lower roll arm height is more important than a vehicle's center of gravity or CG, Value said, and this will give the new Scorpio N significantly lesser body roll compared to other leather-on-frame SUVs. With a focus on handling dynamics on the Scorpio N, the company built the lightest BIW and frame in the segment. At 293 kilograms, the BIW is 13% lighter, and at 213 kgs, the frame is 10% lighter than the previous generations. For greater strength, Mahindra has also increased the amount of high-strength steel in the Scorpio N BIW to 41%, which is highest in the segment. In his presentation, Velu also explained specific emphasis that Mahindra had on increasing the torsional and bending stiffness of the BIW. At 16.1 kN per degree, the torsional stiffness is 8.7% better than D segment benchmark. Similarly, the bending stiffness on the Scorpio N BIW at 7 kN per millimeter is 52.1% better than D segment benchmark. Other innovations on the chassis include the use of a robust ring structure, enhanced joinery optimization, 75 meters of structural sealer, and 4,528 spot welds. Much work also went into improving the frame stiffness and strength. Torsional and bending stiffness on the frame, for example, were better by 6.5% and 9.7% respectively compared to D-segment benchmarks, while the high-strength steel component increased to 81%. So you have also, of course, talked about that. This has no carryover component from the
Yes.
previous generation.
Yes.
So completely new, we understand. But when it comes to the engine and the transmissions,
The
have you made any?
the engine we brought in installing brand new gasoline engine
Okay.
and a diesel engine, brand new diesel engine.
Okay.
And that we brought it in Thor, and then it had two versions, a low power version and a high power version. The high power version went into XUV 700, you know that, and the same engine comes in Scorpio. So that's the carryover in the latest three product that we have. The engine is the carryover. It's a common engine.
Okay.
The engine has to be common because otherwise
Correct.
every product you don't have.
Right.
But that's a fantastic engine. Actually, 700 is a fantastic engine, and therefore we carry it forward. Except engine, the rest of the vehicle. Here, when you give such a commanding seat and highest visibility and wide cabin width, and then you have a body on frame vehicle. The handling for the high speed and low speed, the ride and handling. You cannot compromise ride and handling for the handling at high speeds. So therefore, that's the piece that we have cracked in this vehicle.
Okay.
You would never hear any complaint about handling, ride and comfort on this vehicle. For sure.
So what's been some of the learnings, let's say from the previous generation products that you have done, right? We've seen the XUV 700, that was launched last year. What's been some of those engineering learnings that you've brought into this product?
The basics are, you have to ask a powerful question. It is like that. It's always a blindfolded belief that Aristotle told something.
Right.
So it's it. Until Galileo came and asked.
Correct.
Until Newton came and asked.
Correct.
And it is like this.
Right.
So every time the project team comes to you to the table, you have to always imagine these three people. And you have to always ask this question to them. What else? Is it really the case? Aristotle would have watched, right? But he was, it's moving fast. It's intuitive. It's heavy, it will move fast. Right. But he didn't measure it, right? He believed it.
Right.
Yeah?
True.
A lot of misnomers are there. And in between there is a narrow window available. If you go into that window, there's a narrow window available for every trade-off to be broken. Body on frame means you'll have a good ride, but handling will not be there. That's a misconception that you have, right? Okay. But there are technologies.
Right.
There are architecture solutions that you can combine it. And there are weight reduction technologies that you can combine. There are steel materials that you can increase the stiffness, the strength, while very high stiffness can be. It's a whole round development that you have to do. You cannot reduce weight and leave the stiffness to be lower down, then it doesn't work. So it is a 360-degree thinking that you need to put. Okay. I need to bring down the weight, but I cannot drop stiffness. I cannot drop strength. Right. So how do I maintain this? So basically the ride and handling is asking for, the handling is asking for weights to be lower. Sure. Correct? Yeah. But the lowering of the weight, it has an impact on crash, it has an impact on stiffness, and it has an impact on strength. So how do you take care of that? Right. So you solve puzzle by puzzle, puzzle by puzzle, puzzle by puzzle. Where you cannot solve, you look for technology. Sure. And it is available. It's just a matter of, if you do benchmarking, you will produce another car of the similar best. Right. So you should never do a benchmarking. You should always ask.
Velu spoke about frequency-dependent damping technology that Mahindra has introduced on the Scorpio N, which is a first-in-category introduction. On the double wishbone front suspension, the unsprung mass of the suspension has been reduced by 35% by using alloy parts. At the rear, the first-in-category Pentalink rear suspension features Watts link, which helps in retaining axle centerline during cornering. Essentially, while providing symmetry between the left hand and the right hand side, the Watts link prevents the rear axle from moving laterally under load.
So you saw the load that is coming is 25 tons, right? And also 6 ton. That much is the load the body is pushing against the frame. The frame is pushing onto the tire. Now you cannot have a weak body and a weak frame. It will deflect. When it is deflecting, it loses the stability. Sure. So you have to bring it. And you saw the ring structure. You saw the number of spark wells. You saw the joineries at different, all the joineries locations. You have a armory around the joineries. You saw the blue color. Correct. You might remember that. Yeah. So the joinery. So, for example, the B pillar and C pillar and D pillar, when they go to the roof, where they join, when they go to the floor, where they join, you can lose connections. You can lose stiffness. So it can be loose. This is stiff, but this is loose. You have to make sure that this is stiff as well. Yeah, the joineries. That's where that armory that we have. And then the ring structure. That typically you push this side, it takes the support on the other side. Right. If it's not a ring structure, then it will not take. So you have multiple rings from the front, middle, rear. You have multiple ring structures, joineries are taken care, number of wells, and you always have 2-3 sheet metals coupled together to make a panel. Right. And they have to stick together. Right. So you apply high amount of sealers in the body, the paint shop. That it in the paint shop oven, the sealer melts and forms. Okay. All right.
It must be noted that Mahindra had introduced the ring structure on the XUV 700. While the concept is the same, the XUV 700 is a monocoque construction, while the Scorpio N is a body-on-frame construction. In terms of the overall weight, I mean, you've said that you talked about it, but could you give us a sense in terms of how that has changed and how that has impacted the overall performance?
So, the acceleration is directly related to the weight.
Yeah.
So, you reduce it, and it drastically reduces the crash energy required, because the heavier the object, you saw Newton, F is equal to ma. So there's so much of force will come, and you have to handle the crash energy. And then fuel efficiency. And then weight has a problem with the handling. And weight has a problem with vertical vibrations. Right. So weight is the number one enemy of the vehicle. But weight also gives you the stiffness, all the vibrations. The solidity feeling is coming from weight. So you have to understand strength and the stability. While the roll is heavy, the stability, planted feel and a straight drive is coming from weight. Right. So you cannot reduce or remove the weight. You have to only look for unnecessary weights at right places and leave it at right places to be to manage these all opposing requirements.
In addition to the 2.2-liter 4-cylinder M-Hawk diesel engine, the Scorpio N gets the same SmartCore unit from the XUV 700. Terming the XUV 700 as the perfect all-rounder, Velu said no customer would be willing to accept in any parameter anything lesser than what they have experienced with the XUV 700 on the Scorpio N. The success of the Scorpio N for Velu's team was to make everything better and ensure there is no trade-off against one or the other part. Meanwhile, test drives of the Scorpio N for customers begin on July 5th in the first 30 cities, while the rest of the country test drives start by July 15th. Bookings open only on the 30th of July.
The bookings open only on 30th, so there is ample time for customers to drive the vehicle, test drive it. Even when we open the bookings on 30th, we are anyway opening the add to cart facility on 5th of May, which is a unique thing we started with 700. We will give the customer a 2-week window between the opening of bookings on 30th of July to 15th of August, so that the customer has got a window after test driving the vehicle if they want to change the variant, etc. We'll give them that window, but they lock in their booking on the 15th of August, and we'll start deliveries in the festive season.
At launch, the vehicle will be available in all variants, both manual and automatic. From a production standpoint, Nakra agreed there are short-term challenges. These are like small glitches in the journey of launching a successful product. The supply chain issues which have plagued the sector for long enough is likely to continue because he believes we haven't seen the end of COVID yet. From a long-term perspective though, he believes the market is pretty buoyant and bullish.
No, I think the market is pretty buoyant and bullish, and we've been seeing that, and especially for the SUV segment. So even if you look at last 2 years data, even if you look at pandemic, post-pandemic, I think the SUV segment continues to remain strong. Our booking pipelines are very, very strong across all our brands, whether it's the Bolero Neo, whether it's the Thar, whether it's the 700, whether it's now as we open the bookings of this. So yeah, I think we are pretty bullish going forward.
While everything on paper sounds impressive, it was important for us to experience the vehicle and see how well much of that theory translates into practical experience. We drove the Scorpio N from Mahindra's Chakan plant in Pune to the MB Valley, and the raging monsoons in the western part of the country meant it was raining by the buckets. The claimed improvement of the torsional and bending rigidity, the lower roll arm height, have actually translated into a product that performs beyond initial expectations on corners. The road to MB Valley has a fair amount of hill drive, sharp bends, and slippery corners, and the Scorpio N moved about with very little body movement. On the Pune-Mumbai Expressway too, the Scorpio N was much composed and the vehicle cruised at ease. Overall, the vehicle handled pretty well in all sort of situations and road conditions. Once at MB Valley, we got a chance to experience the Scorpio N in off-road conditions. The heavy rains ensured the course, which was a mix of steep inclines, declines, slush, articulation, etc., became all the more exciting, and the Scorpio N eased past all obstacles with remarkable ease. Overall, be it the technology package, the comfort, convenience, and safety features, the completely new design, or the pricing, Mahindra and Mahindra has offered to customers looking to buy an SUV a very compelling product in the new Scorpio N.